black and brown. Okay, so we're going to use several colors this time. With these watercolors, you want to make sure you activate them. I was talking to somebody today. They were saying that their watercolors aren't very vibrant. Just depending on which which kind you have, they are going to be varying in vibrancy and potency. But when you use these, you want to make sure that you're putting a lot of water on the palette first and getting what they call activated. So you really want to put water all in there and rub it all around. And you'll see that pulls the color up into your brush. If you have a lower quality, kind of like this kind, you're going to have to put more water to activate it more. And really just rub around like that, okay? That'll help your colors to be more vibrant, okay? Just a little tip, because somebody was asking today, all right? If you have liquid watercolors, they are so vibrant that you have to add water or they're, bright. They're super bright. Okay, so it all just depends. All right. Okay, so let's look at the painting real quick. We always want to get the overview before we get started. So these two little birds, obviously one is kind of it's the green and yellow with the orange. And then this one is the teal and orange, basically. Now you'll notice that I put a whole bunch of splotches on this one, big splotches. You know how I'm a fan of, throwing paint on it at the end. Those will happen in the end. Okay, but you don't have to do that. You can make just the birds and the tree trunk and not have those splotches. But when you're looking at it now, you'll see that it's very splotchy. That's not from the initial painting. Okay, so don't get confused by that. We'll just have the yellow and the green and some black for shading and some red around the eyes. So we're going to start on this bird here. And we'll go to this bird and then we'll put in the branch and the leaves. Real easy parts, okay? So let's go with the bird. Now if you notice on the outline, there's not a lot of definition of where those colors need to be. So that's where you're going to bring your mind's eye into this. You're going to feel it out. You're going to feel, oh, where would these colors go? We don't have a definition of where his head ends and where his body starts, but that can happen with the color, okay? So let's get started. My son made me coffee before we started. I just need it today. Okay. I don't know about you, but Easter was weird yesterday, wasn't it? It's just so different than normal. We can do it. It's nothing horribly wrong. Just we miss our family and our traditions. Yep, it was weird. Okay, so I'm going in. I'm activating my palette. I'm going to go in with yellow with a number 5 brush, and I'm going to go in this little belly area. Oh, that's a lot of paint. On the dry paper, I'm just going to get his belly covered. I put a lot of paint on there. We'll just let it soak around. I'm going to have it go up in his cheek area and in his belly. Okay? Easy peasy. This is going to be a quick one. These two little birds. Okay, so now we'll go in with the green, because that's really enough yellow right there. I'm going to go in with the green, and I'm going to go up on his head. He's got these cool little feathers going out the side. And down around his belly, around the yellow. Kind of shows that that's his belly area. Now, as you're going, you might want to add water to make it really flowy. That's how I went about it. If you want it to be more of a definite color with lines, define where it goes, then you just leave it with less water. Okay. Okay, we're filling them in. Giving him some feathers. Okay. Now, that yellow got covered by green, so I'm going to put a little bit more yellow in there. Okay. Now, the red part, reddish orange color. I have this real bright orange that's almost red. And I'm going to go in right here above his beak. And I want it to kind of go around his eye a little bit. And it's okay with me if that color kind of blends and runs around a little bit. I kind of want those starburst kind of things to happen with the water. And maybe it can come down in this area a little bit. Yeah. Going around his eye just a little. These eyes are really easy because they have them closed, so they're so in love. Okay. Now, while it's still wet, we want to go in with some black to do some shading. So, where's my black? Oh yeah, I moved them all around. Here's my black. I'm going to go in with not a very potent black on my brush, but just enough so that it will drop some color in to shade. Now, I'm going to have shading kind of happen along the outside feathers here and kind of down here to show that there's a little bit of a shading happening, little feathers. Yeah. Just like that. Okay. Now, while I have black on my brush, I'm going to go in with the gray that's on there, so it's not very strong. I'm going to put some gray on his eye for eyelid. Be careful not to pull that red paint in. And then I'm also going to make his beak gray as well. So just a light touch of gray. Now, in between these birds, there's going to be a little bit of gray too, because there's a shadow in between them. Ooh, that's got really black. Just let that be under there. Okay. All right. Now, I'm ready to do the other one. Okay. So this guy has this teal color. Moving on to the next bird. Now this bird, I'm going to leave some white. You notice I have teal up here and a little bit of orange and some splotches of that teal color, but I left his cheeks white and a little bit of white here and there on his belly. So I'll just go in with teal on his head here. Yeah. And teal maybe under the beak. And then down in here. Adding water to let that flow around nice and loosely. move it too much or it turns into all one color with no interest. We want it to be interesting. So just let it sit and see what happens. Let that paint figure out what it wants to do on its own. It's hard for me not to personify that watercolor. It does have a mind of its own. Okay, so I have that blue going on. I'm going to go in with a little bit of black and gray along this side here. Maybe for the wing area. Maybe up under here for a neck kind of a spot. And then some shadows down underneath. Now I have a little bit of black still on my brush. I'm going to go in and make that eyelid gray, just like that other one. And then his beak is yellow. So I'm going to go in with yellow and just put some yellow on the beak. I'm going to probably outline that with black just because it's not very defined. We'll need to get our small brushes out here pretty soon. Okay, so we have a base coat down on the birds. We'll probably go in, do a little bit defining, a little bit of small brush action, getting the details in. But for now, we'll leave it at that. We might make some colors brighter here and there. Okay, let's go in while that's drying and make this branch brown. We'll go in just nice and loose color in that branch there on dry paper. Again, you can make it as dark as you want or light as you want. I'm going to be, this painting seems very loose to me, very, not very detailed. So I'm going to let those colors just go in the branch. Now, in order to make the branch look like it's rounded, 3D shape, we will need to put some shadows in, yeah? So shadows, you think about where the light would be. It's coming maybe from the sky, from the top. So I'm going to make the bottom darker, this bottom ledge of this branch here. I'll go in just with my same brush and go along the bottom of that branch with a darker brown. It's actually the same brown, just with less water. Just more potent, more concentrated paint. Okay? And maybe the bottom edge of these babies here. Okay, and I will go in with water and just blend it so that it doesn't look like a line. But still very loose. Now under the birds it'd probably be darker as well, yeah? So we'll let that happen. Going around their feet. Yeah, just just like that. Cute little lovebirds. Do they live in the wild? I don't know. I know doves mate for life. So do ducks. One time I saw the saddest thing. We were riding our bikes and there were ducks trying to cross the street, a male and a female, and the female got hit. And we were right there by it, and the cars just were zooming by, and that male duck was just like screaming at the cars going by. It was the saddest thing. His little wife was dead on the road. So sad. Okay, we have our branch, and we can put some leaves. We can put some little green leaves. So these are just, they're just background. We don't want them to be the highlight of this painting, right? We want birds to be. So we'll just have those leaves be kind of muted color. That's how I was thinking anyway. Just a muted green, allowing for the birds to be the highlight of this painting. But you know, if you wanted to make different colors, have bright leaves, that's fine too. Totally fine. Now I can see that in my birds, the water has had its way. We can't control the water. We just let it do cool things. So you'll see some cool starburstings are happening in there. I love that. Not something I could control or make happen on my own, but I love it. Okay, so see how these birds are brighter than these ones. See how that is? The colors are brighter and the black is darker. That's just because there's another layer. So we'll just go in where I see that I would like to have more color, maybe on the top of her head. See how much brighter it could be? I'm going to go in with a little bit of brighter green and let it just really soak and blend in. I don't want it to look like a line, but I do want to have more color in there. Maybe a little more green down this direction. And maybe a couple dots down there. Okay, and the red has dispersed quite a bit, the orangish red, so I'm going to put a little bit more there. Although I do like the way it dispersed. It was very sunbursty, so I don't want to cover that totally, but I do want to add color. Let it come down a little bit. Yeah. A little more green over here. Just let it pool and see what happens. Sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's dangerous. Living on the edge, wild and crazy. Putting a little more yellow in there. See, much more bright and shiny. Okay, same with that other bird. Oh, I didn't put the orange on his head last time. Now this bird, I'm really okay with him staying kind of muted, except for the black parts. So I'm gonna go in just a little bit of this color here, and then I'll add that orange on his head. If you have a lighter orange than what you used on the other bird, it might be better since he is a little muted. Put that there. Just a little spotch on his head. Okay. All right. I'm going to let that dry a tiny bit just because I don't want to have my black lines that are the next thing we're going to go back in with black lines. I don't want them to be flowing around. I want to have them be nice and defined. So just putting extra little sticks on my branch. All right. Letting it dry. If I were home right now, I mean, if I wasn't on the camera and you are home, you could use your hair dryer right now and get that nice and dry, and you could go in and have control over that black paint. I'm going to use my zero brush, my little one, and go in with the black. So along here I have some dryness. I'll use my number 0 brush and just go in with some black feathers here along the edges. See how that is? Just to give a little bit of definition. And I might use the black for his feet too. Just little feet. Nothing too fancy. Just a little bit there. And put some black feathers right here to show that this is his head and that's his body. Nothing real huge. Now, the beak should be dry. Both beaks should be dry. So I'm going to go in and use the black tiny brush. If you don't have a tiny brush, you can just use a very pointy tip. And I'm going to go in and just define that tip of this beak here. And just show that it's coming up from the bottom. But just the very tip, the middle where his beak closes, and then underneath the beak. So that shows where that shadow would be. Okay? That's very dark. There we go. See how that is? Just to kind of give a hint of that's where that beak is. Okay, I'm going to use the tip of my brush and I'm going to make the line across the eyelid. Kind of goes at a 45-degree angle up from the bottom to the top, just to show that that's where their eyes are closed. Yep, just like that. This one has the same thing. All right, and now this beak is yellow. It's not very defined. So I'm going to use more of an outline on this one. I'll just kind of show that this beak kind of comes down. Just the lightest of touch with your brush. You don't want to have big stark lines, but just to show there's a definition of the beak. Okay. Continuing around, we'll go down around the outside of this wing area here and down here, just to show that this is where this bird ends and this one begins. Yep, just kind of defining little areas. Okay, that is the birds. Now, if you wanted to go in, you could put some details on these flowers. You could do all kinds of things, just depending on how you're feeling. But now is the time where we could leave it just like this. You can have your birds look just as cute as can be like that. I'm going to go in and do some splotching. So I like to splash paint. So you can see that this is kind of a blue, greenish yellow color. Maybe a little blue is in there. But I really let it drip on this and see how it kind of made the paint that's already there actually change. So this is how I'm going to do it. I am going to use that technique where you do the little slapping of the brush. But I'm going to let it be even more painty and bigger droplets. Okay, so I'm going to get like a greenish yellow paint on my brush, a bunch of water. I put my finger like this. You see? And I'm going to think about, okay, right on that side of that bird, I want to let there be some splotches, especially out into that area. Ooh, my water was dirty. It was a different color than I was expecting. It's all right. We can't control everything, right? Okay, and then for the bigger splotches, I'm just going to go in and blot. Blot, blot, blot. Okay. Now I'm going to go in a little bit with my teal color and do that too. And as the water disperses, that'll allow for those splotchy little pretty colors to come out. Yeah, that's that. I'm not going to stick around to show you what exactly it looks like, but this is what I did for this, and this is what happened. See all those little lines and splotches? So cool, just so cool. All right, so there is our lovebird painting. We went quick this time, and I hope you enjoyed your time. I hope you were able to let go and let that paint do what it was going to do. It's an exercise in not controlling everything, but being okay with the fact that we're making beauty and not all the time is that controllable. But whatever you do, whatever you are good at, whatever you are made to do it with all your heart and put it out into the world. Put that beauty out into the world for everyone to see and everybody to have experience. So that's what art's for, to have an experience, to feel something. Yeah, so I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we were able to be together, and you have a wonderful day. Grace and peace and wholeness to you. Bye.